they write she had a special disdain for would-be allies who coveted power over ideals. When hawkish, and this has been circulating around the internet a lot, Lieberman was running for president in 2003, the Democratic nomination, and she led a caravan of activists to protest outside his event. She says he's ashamed of Democrats. I don't even know why he's running. He seems to want to get Republicans voting for him. What kind of strategy is that?
Huh.
Yeah,
what kind of strategy is that?
So in 2002, she runs for state legislature, and she's in between. She's, I guess this is sort of, she's running as an independent, right? So she's, I guess, still affiliated with the Greens, but thinks her odds are better, or for whatever reason runs as an independent. And the Democratic establishment, the local party, tars her as too extreme for Central Phoenix. But she says she's sort of developing her skills here and becomes kind of the mediator and organizational head honcho of like the anti-war movement in Phoenix at the time. They have a big argument over the name. Some people think it should be AAJP because the justice has to come before the peace, interestingly.
Very important stuff to bring up at the meeting, I'm sure.
Yeah. But they did have Sinema utilize her skills as a social worker to mediate conflict between most of the peace movement, especially like Quakers and anarchists who wanted to use more hardcore, violent methods. So she's able to broker a truce.
Kyrsten, please put on your mediating galoshes and come to break up this fight between Ray Beam and Tim Armstrong from Rancid.
This is where Starhawk comes in. They applaud Sinema for being able to come in and settle it. So they're helping do things like organize against the free trade area of the Americas, which basically would have made the entire Western Hemisphere into the same unregulated market. Good that did not happen.
Close one.
So this is an interesting thing. In Miami, where I think when the protest is happening, there was a mobile composting toilet that someone was ferrying around on a bicycle and a convergence space in an old warehouse.
How did you get this picture of me? You know what I'm saying?
But there's a convergence space in an old warehouse with a permaculture garden inside. Someone who traveled with the delegation from Phoenix, remembers Sinema wandering around the day before the march at the really, really free market, where there was no such thing as capitalism, and the clothes and the food and the plants were all free. People paid for people paid for items with fairy money and traded skills and hugs for goods. It was a glimpse of the world many activists wanted for themselves. And then the next day, they confronted the world as it was. So obviously, showdown with the cops.
Obviously, the police showed up and started beating people up.
Yeah.
Put down the fairy money.
Yeah. But this is fun. When the tear gas...
Down the hug. That hug belongs to be... It's taxed by Uncle Sam.
Right. No such thing as a free lunch or a free hug.
We don't want any trouble. We're just here for Star Biscuit.
But so they start tear gassing them, and Sinema starts doing a spiral dance near the front of the march, a ritual in which demonstrators formed a long chain circling back on itself. They hope to summon energy from their togetherness. She died
down, stars! Strike them down! Kyrsten Sinema prepared a Kamehameha attack to wave off the police.
So, she's somebody who definitely understands police brutality and just the nature of American policing, because they still have the email threads from after the demonstration, and in her accounting, the police were the aggressors from the beginning. She says they're shoveling shoving protesters with batons, beating protesters, taser gunning people, launching rubber bullets, pepper spray, tear gas, hitting all sorts of people.
Yeah, you will eventually you'll gain an understanding of policing if you are tear gassed in the face while trying to summon Captain Planet with 4 of your friends. After that, you'll have some notes.
So she experiences all this stuff, and her friend gets part of their ear blown off.
What the fuck?
Kyrsten Sinema's hit with a rubber bullet in her backpack, and just absolute brutality. And then she turns on the news.
Spell backfired and turned her friend into an owl.
But she turns on the news the next night, and the people who are talking about it, which is not the majority of media, are taking the police angle. So she kind of has this moment of like, well, fuck. It doesn't really matter what they do to us. It's just going to be repackaged and misconstrued by the mass media.
Now I'm beginning to ask myself, why did I even do the Star Dance?
Right.
And then she got fired from the clown agency that she worked at, and she punched the ticket thing on the way out the door and made a weird laughing sound, foreshadowing the rest of the story.